Hey, hi, hello. Once again, we are back. I'm Pastor JKevz together with my wife.
Yes, I'm Jayan.
That's Jayan. So we are going to continue our series about historical theology.
Yes.
We study about different gods and different religions. We are debunking the
Zeitgeist Doctrine.
the trending, the viral, the spirit of the times. And Jesus is not
A copy of pagan gods.
because there is
None like him.
there's none beside him, there's none else, there's none that can compare. There's only one God. So last time, previously on part 1, intro to
Zeitgeist, the deadly hoax.
the poisonous, dangerous scam, deadly hoax. The introduction enters Zeitgeist. This time on part 2, we're going to talk about 3 pagan gods.
Yes.
They are
MITHRA, DIONYSUS, and Horus.
They are the rip-off gods, the copy-paste gods, the plagiarized gods. So Jesus was not copied from them. Jesus is the original. There's only one God. Right?
Yes.
So we know whom we have put our trust with. We know whom we have believed. Kilala na natin kung sino ating pinaniniwalaan. So 1 Kings 18:27 DRB.
Elijah jested at them.
God's
Elijah
word.
started to make fun of them.
International Standard
Elijah
Version.
began to tease them.
King James.
Elijah mocked them.
And Tagalog ang Biblia.
Biniro sila ni Elias.
Elias. So, Elijah mocked the prophets of Baal. They were trying to make Baal send fire and burn the offering. So they're running and shouting and jumping and cutting themselves, wounding themselves with sharp rocks.
Yes.
And Elijah was mocking them, insulting them,
Yes.
scoffing at them. So, cry louder. Maybe Baal is sleeping. You have to wake him up. Or maybe he's out hunting. Or maybe Baal is in a journey. And Elijah did not sin. This is not a sin. And actually, God approved of the mockery of Elijah against Baal. Because God hates other gods. Pagan gods. There's only one God. He's a jealous God. His anger is always kindled whenever the Israelites do idolatry.
Yes.
Sorry, other gods. Kaya sila inatake ng Assyrians, Babylonians, and Philistines. So, we're not going to mock them. We're just going to study them.
Yes.
To read what those, the believers in their religion wrote about them. Ano yung mga sinulat ng mga taong naniniwala sa kanila. Unahin natin si MITHRA. He is not born of a
Virgin.
ibig sabihin, yung parent niya ay hindi birhen. Actually,
Yes.
hindi rin tao ang parent niya.
Paano kaya nangyari yun, no?
The parent of MITHRA is not even a human or humans. MITHRA is born out of,
Iraq.
so anak siya ng bato. Right? Pinanganak siya ng isang stone. MITHRA is son of a rock. Anak siya ng bato. If you search MITHRA in Google, Wikipedia, images, all you can see are pictures of a rock and then MITHRA emerging out of those rocks. MITHRA emerged out of the rock as an
Adult,
not.
not as a baby.
So, when MITHRA was born, okay, hindi naman pinapanak ang mga Diyos, diba? Gods are not born. They don't die either. So, pagkapanganak niya, malaki na agad siya. When Jesus was born, Jesus was a baby.
Yes.
MITHRA has no mother. He has a rock. So, is the rock male or female? Right? The rock is not a virgin.
Yes.
And MITHRA was not born in a manger.
Yes.
So, that movie, Religious, they making fun of Jesus, and they're saying Jesus is copied from MITHRA. They say MITHRA in part 1, right? That's not true. That's false. So, the makers, the director, the writers of the movie Religious did not made a research or a study about what they're saying. They just made it up. Jeremiah 2:27.
Saying to a stock, Thou art my father, and to a stone, Thou hast brought me forth.
Okay, a stock is a tree. So, kilala mo si Malakas at sa Maganda? Nanggaling sila sa bamboo, sa kawayan. Ginawa sila ni Bathala. Kalakuhan yun ni Magellan. Kasi ang Diyos ng mga Pilipino, noong unang panahon, Ophir, is the God of Israel. We will study about that in the Solomon's Gold series. So, nanggaling sila sa puno. Ikaw ang aking ama. Sinasabi nila sa isang bato, ikaw ang nagluwal sa akin. Sinasabi nila sa isang rock, a stone, Thou hast brought me forth. So, this is an evolution verse. The verse of evolutionist. So, there is no
Death of MITHRAs.
MITHRA never died. MITHRA was never
Killed.
let alone
Crucified.
so he also did not.
Rise from the dead.
If MITHRA never died, he can never rose from the dead. Can you resurrect the living?
No.
You only resurrect the dead. If he never died, He is never resurrected, but Jesus did.
Yes.
So, he's not born of a virgin. This religious movie is wrong. This documentary is ridiculous. So, Mithra is not
Coming again.
but Jesus is.
Yes.
So, number 2, we talk about Mithra. Number 2, we will talk about Dionysus. He is the god of
wine.
So, Dionysus was a drunkard. He's a drunk. Dionysus was born from whom?
Zeus, having sex with Semele.
See, the parents of Dionysus have God, a human female and a god. They are not virgins. They had sex. So, Dionysus was a demigod, half human,
half divine.
So, and Semele, the daughter of Cadmus, was joined with whom?
With Zeus.
In love, and
bear
bear
him a splendid son. Joyous Dionysus, a mortal woman and immortal son, and now they both are gods.
Dahil lang nagkaanak ang isang Diyos sa isang tao, parehas na silang Diyos. So, magiging Diyos ka pa na pag nakapagtalik sa'yo. Ang bastos naman, di ba? Ang sagwa, ang laswa. It's immoral. Right? Immorality. So, Semele and Zeus made love, they had sex, and gave birth to
Dionysus.
So, Dionysus was not a product of virgin birth. Right? Actually, Semele had a husband, and Zeus was the other husband. It's an affair. They are worshipping gods who are making affairs. Left and right. Zeus, Poseidon, Hades, Hercules, Perseus, all of those gods. So, Dionysus died by what? How did Dionysus die?
By being turned up into a bunch of pieces
By
by
whom?
the Titans.
By the giants. And was?
Boiled.
Where?
In a pot to be eaten by them.
So, Dionysus was not
crucified.
He died by being torn in pieces, torn apart, and eaten by giant titans. And after that, okay, can you read from Origen, Contra Celsium Book 4 from the Roman historians?
Dionysus was deceived by the Titans and expelled from the throne of Jupiter, and torn in pieces by them, and his remains being afterwards put together again.
Okay.
He returned as it were once more to life and ascended to heaven.
So Jupiter is the Roman name for the Greek name Zeus. Jupiter is Zeus. Zeus is Jupiter. The Roman gods and the Greek gods are the same. So after he died, he was eaten, right? He was digested in the intestines of the Titans. And syempre, he was pooped. Tinai siya. And then, yung kanyang mga laman galing sa puwet ng mga Titans, pinagkabit-kabit ulit, put together again, and then he turned to life. Okay.
Saka nabuhay.
Wow! Edi wow! And then he ascended up to heaven. That's a rip-off from Jesus.
Yes.
Jesus ascended to heaven, but Jesus was never torn in pieces.
Yes.
So Dionysus' story was written
in 200 AD.
248 Anno Domini, year of the Lord. Over 2 centuries, that's 200 years. Cent is 100, right? 2 centuries, 200. One century, 100. After the story of
Jesus had already been established and circulating.
Naitaguyod ng kwento ni Jesus, kumakalat na, sikat ng kwento ni Jesus, the four Gospels, Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John. 200 years after Jesus Christ, actually 248 years after Jesus Christ, saka lang na-inventa si Dionysus. How can they say Jesus was copied from Dionysus if Jesus came first?
Yes.
This is a
Christ story.
So, pre means before, post means after. After Christ's story. Dionysus' resurrection idea was
copied from Jesus.
And not the other way around. So, Jesus is the original God. So, Dr. Jerry Habermas, an historian, he said,
I don't know anybody who thinks Dionysus is pre-Christian. Not the resurrection portion.
Wala siyang kilala na kahit sinong historian na nag-iisip na si Dionysus ay before Christ, pre-Christian, post-Christ, post-Christian, lalo na yung pagkabuhay magmuli. So when I researched Dionysus in YouTube, I was expecting to see some picture of gods, Greek gods, Dionysus, but I was shocked. YouTube gave me these results. K-pop paganism. So, K-pop lovers, Korean novellas, they named their band, or I don't know, this is a group or a film or telenovela. I don't know what's the kung ano to, but Dionysus is the name. The name of this false pagan god. So there you go, don't watch it. Dionysus had no
virgin birth,
had no
crucifixion,
and
no resurrection.
And Dionysus is
not coming back again.
Only Jesus is coming back again, right? So we finished talking about two gods, Mithra and Dionysus. We're going to talk about the third god. Horus also
had no virgin birth.
Let's talk about the parents of Horus, Isis and Osiris. Isis is the mother, Osiris is the father. Please read.
Isis had sex with Osiris after reassembling his body parts, which were torn apart and scattered over Egypt.
So these false pagan gods were obsessed of being torn apart. Dionysus was torn apart, Osiris was torn apart. So Isis had sex with Osiris after joining his body parts together again, because the body parts of Osiris were torn apart just like Dionysus and were scattered all over
Egypt.
So he was torn apart and then he was put back together, and after that Isis had sex. What? And then let's see about Jesus.
He keepeth all his bones, not one of them is broken.
This was a song of David, and David did not know that he prophesied about the future Jesus. He was just making a song. He was inspired. The scripture is inspired by the Holy Ghost. There came the soldiers and break the legs of the first and the two thieves, left and right, crucified with Jesus. But when they came to Jesus and Jesus was already dead, they
break not his legs.
But they pierced him with a spear on his side.
Yes.
Water and blood came forth. Okay, and verse 36, a bone of him
shall not be broken.
Just like the prophecy of David in Psalms 34. He keepeth not all his bones, not one of them is broken. So not one bone of Jesus Christ was broken. Jesus was not torn in pieces. He was not torn apart and scattered all over Israel. He died in one piece. He was pierced, hands, feet, side, crown of thorns, many stripes all over his body, but he's still in one piece.
Yes.
But all other gods were torn in pieces.
Yes.
How can they say this ridiculous movie that Jesus was copied from those ridiculous gods? Can you read?
Through her magic, Isis revivified the sexual member of Osiris and became pregnant by him, eventually giving birth to their child Horus.
This sexual member, that's the genitals, right? The reproductive part of the male god, Osiris. Okay? Actually, a god should be a spirit. God should not have a body. So, the magic of Isis, actually, this Isis is the name of the Muslim terrorist group. Right? The Muslim terrorist group who kills Christians. I will have a series about Quran. We will talk about how ridiculous that is. Debunk me if you can. So, you believe your own Quran, right? Are you saying that you don't believe the Quran? Okay, we're going to talk about that. So, Osiris became pregnant by him and eventually gave birth to a son, Horus. So, Horus was a son of a father who died and was restored and had sex. So, how did Isis and Osiris had sex? This is from Richard Wilkinson, the book Complete Gods and Goddesses of Ancient Egypt, published year
2003,
page
146.
So, this is citing the source reference. So, after having sexual, please read.
After having sexual intercourse in the form of a bird with the dead god, she restored to life. She gave birth to a posthumous son, Horus.
So Isis, in the form of a bird, had sex with Osiris. The mother of Horus was in the form of a bird, had sex with the father of Horus. This is from Dunan, C.B. Kochi, Gods and Men in Egypt, published year
2004, page 39.
So, this is the dead Osiris, which were torn in pieces and then joined back together. And this is the mother of Horus. This is the father of Horus, Osiris, and the mother of Horus, Isis, having sex with Osiris in the form of a bird. So, an animal having sex with a human being with this erected reproductive system, it's ridiculous. It's disgusting. It's revolting. It's gross. So, God said bestiality is
an abomination to God.
Karuma-duman nito. What is bestiality? It's a human being having sex with an animal or any beast. So, you should kill the woman. Kill Isis.
Yes.
Isis is an abomination. Isis is abominable. These are the parents of the god Horus, whom Egyptians are worshipping, and they say that Horus, Jesus was copied from Horus. No, Mary was a virgin. Right? And the dove is not a literal dove. The Spirit of God descended upon Jesus, the body, in like a dove. As a dove. Katulad. Kawangis. kagaya, parang, but not a dove literally.
Yes.
So it's maybe a shadow like a dove, or a fire like a dove, or a cloud in the ship like a dove. It's not a dove, right? So Horus was never
crucified.
There's actually not even a
record of him ever even dying.
Yes, so there was
no resurrection either.
Horus never died.
Yes.
He lost one of his eye, either left or right. We talk about it in part 1. He fought against a divine bull, holy cow, banal na baka. He lost one of his eye, but he never died. And Horus is not
coming again,
but Jesus is coming again.
Yes,
So
he is.
In our conclusion, before we end this 15-minute video, so why there are many legends, pagan gods, stories written before the birth of Christ, before Jesus was born? This is the reason
as to why so many pagan gods predate Christ and have similar stories is that the life of Christ has been foretold and prophesied since Genesis.
Kaya maraming kwento ng mga pagano, ng mga false pagan gods, nasulat na, nababasa na, bago pa ipanganak si Kristo, before Jesus was born, kasi the story of the life of Christ was prophesied before the birth of Christ, 4,000 years before. That's since Genesis, since the Old Testament prophets. Continue.
The Old Testament has over 300 prophecies specifically detailing the life of Jesus, written hundreds of years before he walked on the earth.
So before Jesus was born, before Jesus came to earth, before he walked on earth, right? There are over 300 prophecies about, for example, Zechariah, Jesus would enter Jerusalem on a donkey. Micah, he will be born in Bethlehem. David, he will be pierced, hands and feet. Isaiah, he will prophesy in parables. So all of those Old Testament prophets, they were fulfilled in the life of Christ. So before Jesus was born, those other pagan gods, other religions, copied the story from those prophecies, from the prophets. So that's why they are written pagan gods before the birth of Christ. Okay? Jesus is not
a counterfeit pieced together from pagan gods.
But
pagan gods are counterfeits pieced together from prophecies of him.
Yeah. So si Jesus ay hindi kinopya sa mga pagano. Ang mga pagano ay kinopya kay Jesus. The pagan gods are counterfeits pieced together from prophecies of Jesus Christ. So this is the end of our part 2. Mithra, Dionysus, and Horus are
rip of gods,
plagiarized gods, copycat gods. So Jesus is the original. Next topic for the next video next time will be uploaded tomorrow on part 3, the historical
accurate Jesus
past
reality.
So every historian, believer or not, Christian or non-Christian, even atheist scholars, skeptics, agnostic historians, Romans, Greeks, everybody believe that Jesus Christ existed in the past reality. In history, it is his story. So thank you. God bless. There's only one God. There's none like him. Don't believe Zeitgeist. Elijah mocked them, scoffed at them, ridiculed them, jested at them, teased them, biniro sila ni Jesus. And we're not doing that, but we are talking about their theories, their paradigm, their literature. So once again, I'm Pastor JKevz Reyes with my wife.
I'm J.Ann.
Thank you for listening. We are debunking
the Zeitgeist Doctrine.
Jesus is not
a copy of pagan gods,
because there is
none like him,
none else, none beside, none that can compare. Thank you and
God bless.